Hey there, horror fans! I'm your host, Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, and you're watching the 31 Days of Trick or Treat. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the 31 Days of Trick or Treat, where we're taking a look at a different item from Trick or Treat Studios every single day for 31 days. Yesterday was the first day of the third week of the 31 Days of Trick or Treat, and we took a look at the Haunted Mask from Goosebumps. And today we're continuing right along with another R.L. Stine classic. Now, I did mention in yesterday's video that I did go ahead and order the full catalog of everything Goosebumps that Trick or Treat Studios is offering. Unfortunately, however, everything's not quite ready yet, so the only thing I've received thus far is the Haunted Mask. However, today we're going to be taking a look at the Skull Mask Killer from Fear Street. I'm sure many of you horror fans are well aware of the Fear Street series, which was shot and released in a very cool way. And the first entry in the Fear Street trilogy is Fear Street 1994. And during the beginning, we meet the Skull Mask Killer. Much of the way that they shot that intro was an homage to Scream, and I love it. We get to meet a teenager who dons a robe, a mask, and grabs a knife and kills a girl. However, unlike Ghostface, this killer gets taken out almost immediately. I don't want to spoil too much about the films if you're not familiar with them, but I thought they were a pretty awesome series, and overall, there were some really cool character designs in there. I'm not sure how many of you are a fan of the books, but personally, I love the books as well. I read just as much Fear Street as I did Goosebumps growing up. In fact, it seemed a little bit easier to find the Fear Street books on sale than it was to find Goosebumps. And if you remember the original tale that this particular killer was inspired by, the artwork on the cover of that book features a skull mask as well. However, that's a Be Something Studios mask. This piece was sculpted by Christopher Nelson. I'm sure many of you out there know the name Christopher Nelson because he helped make these bad boys. However, Christopher has done a lot of other amazing work, and this is one of my favorite skull masks ever. Legitimately, this is one of the coolest skull sculpts of all time. Even if it wasn't used in this film, if this was just a mass-produced skull, this thing would be so sick. And the way that it's used in the film is very cool as well. And there is a second version of this mask. This is the standard version of the Skull Mask Killer, but they do have a burnt version where one side of the face is scorched up. It's actually kind of an homage. Maybe it was purposefully done, but that fella right there. This particular copy that I received is a hang tag version, not a side tag version. Now, I don't know if they're only doing hang tag versions of these since they are selling them in stores, or if there will be side tag versions as well. Maybe some of you out there can let me know, but the one they sent me is a hang tag version. We have discussed whether or not there's any quality differences over the hang tag versus the side tag, and it seems kind of inconclusive. With some masks, it seems like there's definitely a little bit of extra care taken. However, for some masks, they're probably just the same. This is such a simple mask anyway, it would be pretty hard to mess up regardless. And if there was any paintwork that needed to be done anywhere, I mean, it's very minor. The only complaints I could really find about this mask at all, it looks like, unfortunately, when this one was being painted, maybe they dropped it and it smeared a bunch of the paint and they just picked it up and like painted over it anyway and finished it. That is unfortunate to see, but I mean, for something that's going to be on display, or even if it's being worn with the costume, it's going to cover that part of the head anyway. It's not that big of a deal. And it's also big head friendly, very comfortable to wear. I think pretty much anybody could fit this thing. I mean, there's not a full neck, and it's almost like a 3/4 mask. So it's pretty wide open there. There's not a ton of crazy colors or details or hair work that goes into these, so they're going to be pretty consistent overall. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot left to say, so let's go ahead and read the excerpt directly from the Trick or Treat Studios website. Alright, here we are. Trick or Treat Studios and Netflix are proud to bring you the official Fear Street Skull Mask Killer Mask. Netflix brought to life R.L. Stine's more sinister teen novels in the Fear Street trilogy. Viewing audiences were introduced to a batch of unstoppable killers, including 1994's Skull Mask Killer, 1978's Nightwing, and 1922's Billy Barker. Get your Fear Street Skull Killer Mask and horrify everyone headed to the mall this Halloween. So it doesn't say anything about Christopher Nelson designing this on the tag or on the website, but I'm pretty confident that he did make this. And I'm also pretty confident, if I'm not wrong, that these were produced off of one of his original masters making this from the screen use molds. I could be wrong, but I think they did that with a full Fear Street lineup. Either way, I'm not seeing anything about it online, and as for price, these are running $55. So that's yet another mask in the R.L. Stine lineup that's actually below average mask price. So I think that's a really, really great price for something like this. Yet again, even if this had no affiliation with the movie, it was just a normal, just a random artist made this. This is a super sick skull mask, and I would think it's totally worth 55 bucks. So if you guys are interested in picking one of these up yourself, you can get them directly from Trick or Treat Studios, or you can get them from one of the many retailers that they work with. I love you all, thank you for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you next time.